So we're gonna make a presentation, the two of us, as we always been together. We can't be separate, so we make presentations together. So we're gonna go back and forth. Um, we just want to talk a little bit about this project. Has a very unique importance for us. But before we go to that, I want to introduce you to our most important person here. We have here Maria Mingaloni. She is the director of the museum. Could you please say she's the face, force, work of the museum behind. She is extremely active. If it wasn't for this, her energy, this wouldn't be happening. So it's really great that she is following all the steps of this project.
I was going to introduce two people from our office who've been working on the project.
Yes.
Marcy.
And again, without them, we cannot do anything. So just when we talk, we've been here for 30 years in San Diego, and we have seen some of these coastal cities growing and shrinking and moving. But the city of Oceanside has been in the last 20 years completely transformed. I mean, it's just really, we always saw is that you arrive from Los Angeles and the first city, it's this place, which is incredibly transformative. And we used to say when we arrived the first time that I thought that Oceanside, I came by car from LA and I saw the Oceanside was downtown San Diego. But obviously it has changed in a very good way. They have kept a very interesting grid. They have kind of obviously get more densify it and open it more for building more in a nice way. I just think that we're just talking to friends now that we go to Oceanside from San Diego to vacation for a whole weekend because there's so many things to do and it's really easy and active and friendly. And the museum has really opened a great activity there and now it's a much more destination. So as part of the city growing, I think that this is a complementary piece that we have to see that it's really bringing back energy, power, and much more lively place and cultural. There's a lot of activities there. And that's the way that we see the museum is its presence. It's about a place for entertaining, for culturalize, to open conversations, for gathering, and to open the doors to everybody. We always see that Oceanside is very friendly. So it's friendly for everybody, and what we're going to see is a little bit of response to that. Very simply, very little gestures, but it's a move to that. So getting into a little bit of history, and we have more experts in the place more than us. We just a little bit knowledgeable about this. But Gill has this huge master plan, and we're existing the museum right now. It was a master plan that it was very beautiful, and you can see it on the exhibition that it was before in the museum. But it wasn't done. But what he did was the first piece, which is the city hall, and the fire station on the right one. The rest of the master plan for the rest of the campus was done later by Charles Moore, who was an architect selected by the university, by the city, and it was all these new pieces that you can see there, but it's very close to everything. So it complements the entire space. But this is what we call right now the civic center. I mean, this is what it is, the heart of politics, cultural in the city of Oceanside. Just to give it some context. So looking into what we have, we go back again to the main, you want to point out the city hall structure. It is. Do you want to make the lights off? Can we turn off the lights there, the front lights?
Oh yeah, that's
much better. Yeah. And then in the middle you have the pavilion, we call it pavilion of the new edition. And that was done in 2008. And then the fire station is in the back. And those three buildings are part of the complex what we're going to show you today. The key was how do we connect them, how do we reactivate it, and how do we make use with all the different conditions that we have now and constraints, because there are a lot. But nevertheless, it has always been there, and now it will be interesting how do we connect it. Just to give you some reference, this is what it was. The top image is the image of the city hall as it was built in the beginning, and the year Just
1929.
1929, correct? And the fire station is at the bottom. You can see this is what it used to be. We don't it doesn't look like that anymore. The arches were different. There is a little bit of a tower that is being camouflaged by other structures. If you can point out the little roof, the, 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 the one, that one, that also disappeared, was demolished and covered by other structures. And there was an addition in the back. Oh my God, this is very bright.
Can you see it? I'm maybe again.
Can you see it? I can't see anything. 1929, the Gill City Hall is as it is. This is the plan that is currently existing almost.
This was the existing,
In the middle is the new building done in 2008 by Fisher Expansion. Frederick Fisher is a great architect who added this addition in 2008, and he took the form and shape almost of the cubicle form in three-dimensional space to create a new addition in the center. He set back to create a nice plaza entry, which is really was very successful, and make a conversation between the first building of the civic and the pavilion, and obviously give room to celebrate already a little bit the fire station. So there was a move, an intention. We think that architecture always has been a continuation of layers of thinkings, and we really respect and we can see clearly the history behind and the evolution of these movements. So right away we thought, well, okay, so our biggest effort is going to be how do we keep these movements, forms and shapes similar without to finish the complementary story without destroying or changing anything else.
I just want to add one other thing is that the current museum today are these two buildings. There is a gap between the fire station and then the next piece is going to be to add the fire station to the other two buildings. So we'll be having three buildings together.
And can you see?
Yeah. I think from that angle maybe better.
Okay, so this is, we did this three-dimensional models immediately as soon as we started working because this was the only way that we can communicate. And this is existing building as it is. And you're gonna see in the next slide this is the area that it was out on in many different phases. It wasn't just suddenly being transformed. It became an old fire station, then became, they add different places. The jail was growing, there's tons of spaces for beds and things in the second floor. And there's also offices, there's like a 3 or 4 additions, and each of them was correct probably of need at a certain time, but they were really just modifying the building in such a way that it's making it very complex to resolve it, but nevertheless it's possible. It's just sort of a surgery. We're doing surgeries, taking the pieces out, putting the pieces in, getting consultants and our team, which is Ion Stigler, who is we investigating with us the walls, the spaces, the windows types, and how do we bring them, what's valuable. Of course, we are following the Secretary of State's guidelines, and we really are following it very strictly to be sure that it is approved and follows the rules. So with these 3 extensions, what is interesting is that we're still doing more investigations as we're moving. We have to get into some walls and find out exactly how we're going to resolve some of these structural issues. But it's been interesting to walk around and see the empty building and see all these jails in darkness and kind of all these rooms that are deformed, no light in some of these places, and trying to see how we're going to bring light to the offices. And how are we going to make this a place that is really have to keep going, but we have to erase a little bit of these moments in this space and bring it up to refresh the spaces and bring it up to life again. All of them inside. So the next click.
I just want to explain that this whole thing here is that for the fire apparatus, for the fire trucks, the original arches were enlarged and became very square. And so that's another thing that we looked at and said, what are the different things that we're going to do to bring the fire station back to its original state, or as original as possible, because you have to do so many layers.
And I wish we could do it slowly, but basically we knock out the walls and we reduce some of the additions that were on the second floor, and also we reduce in the back some area, and we reshape the arches to be what it was. We also bring alive the balconies in all areas, and the courtyard is also being activated. There's a little bit of actions that we're taking, bringing up some windows and doors that were being hidden, and making it more functional and making it part of a garden exhibition place. And now we're going to explain to you how that happened and what is the effect of that.
So one of the, as Ricardo was saying, we have 3 buildings, 2 architects. Now we're the 3rd architect, trying to weave 3 buildings together to create a cohesive museum. And I think the most important thing we thought is that it should feel seamless. And so we created 2 strong axes that combine the buildings right through all 3 as the main axes, with another one running through the fire station as well that intersects with the main axes, so that wherever you are within those 3 buildings, people can orient themselves, understand how the 3 buildings are connected. And we felt that that creates a sense of calmness in museums. So you know where you're going, you can see where you go. It's, sometimes when you have complicated situations, trying to make them feel more unified seems very, very important. Can you see the angles? It's very hard to see the colors. Can you see any colors on the no colors? There's arrows. Okay, because there are colors on this right now that aren't showing up. One of the first things we did is the current entrance right now is right over here off of the main plaza, and it's a very tight bottleneck as it stands today between the 2 buildings. So what we've created now is a kind of more of a welcome center, and one of the goals is to activate really all the way around the 3 buildings on 2 city blocks, on Pureview Avenue and also in Nevada, so that the museum kind of reaches out to the street and brings people in and kind of activates the street. First, we thought that this corner, the southwest corner, is extremely important as you're coming from downtown up through Pureview Way. This is the first thing you see as you're coming from downtown. And so we brought the original entrance back to this location, because this was the museum for so many years, and combined it with the store and a cafe. And we've also created a big like patio so that people can hang out, have coffee, and that you see that destination as you're coming up the street. And having the entrance now right over here, it allows people to come in from the plaza, to come in from the main stairs. Everyone comes in here as a security moment, and then they come into the museums, and then that is how you get into everywhere else. Then you have all of the existing galleries. These were all the existing galleries, and we are adding on the ground floor 2 additional galleries, a community gallery, which is in the fire bay, the main space, which will open up to a patio on the front and further open up to a sunken sculpture garden, which can be used for events. And then all of this here is now the education center that will have its own entrance and also be activated on this corner off of Nevada Street. And so that is also can be connected to the community gallery on the street as well. So this can all be used together, or you can just use the education center that has 2 multi-function spaces and lockers and all sorts of things for children and adults for different classes. On the upper level, and I should say that in terms of using a building that, as Ricardo was saying, is so cut up into so many different rooms, that the challenge really was to create these visual axes and also to create spaces. Oops, I went the wrong way. Sorry. Did I go back? Did I where did it go? Yeah, that's the second floor. Sorry. Visual axes and also spaces. Oh God, I keep doing that. That are really usable, large enough to be big spaces for gathering. On the second floor, we have consolidated all of the administrative offices, so everything now is together. And again, creating a big open workspace out of the prison cells was a nice challenge. And then having the other offices. But we also created a very nice large additional gallery that's connected on the second floor. So we've created 3 new galleries in the museum. Oh, and then one little thing, just in terms of the functioning of the museum, is that the basement, which is hardly showing up on this, wow, is now the education classrooms were down here, so now this can be much more for storage and in terms of workings for the museum. So that's been very helpful as well to create more storage and the permanent collection. And then this is a section cut through the 3 buildings. This is where the gallery is in the original City Hall. This is the Fisher Building with the 3 levels. This is, like, as Maria was saying, the permanent collection storage. And then this is the entrance and the other gallery above. And here we have the community gallery and the administrative offices.
In between space.
Oh, that's very important.
Yeah.
Yes. And so what was an outdoor space in between the fire station and the Fisher Building has become now kind of the 3rd gallery, which we're calling the in-between gallery, which connects the 2 buildings, but also kind of creates a very different type of gallery, which we'll show you.
It's a very contemporary space, which actually the urbanity lifestyle has invented many years, which is this sort of in-between properties.
Can't hear you.
You have an alley, and the alleys is where you could do art, people paint, like in New York and other places. So we're using that, we call it the in-between space. So we maximize the height, we make it very alive, and this is a place that you can display a specific type of art, and you can go back and forth. Okay, so this is the entry now, the new entry for the museum.
Right, this space here, because the colors aren't coming up. This is kind of the welcome area right there.
Yeah, the resolution is too big to image, but you can see people sitting outside. This is part of the cafe on the corner, and this is the stores on the ground level, on the ground floors. This is shop, the new shop, the entry shop with the information center. And right at when you have the gallery name, you cannot see it, it's coffee. So you can go from the coffee shop into the shop or vice versa, or connected and be part of it. The next one, it's in the other corner. This is where you have the Sankin Garden, and you have we call it a garden that is Sankin, but it's for sculptures. And the alleys, and it's connecting straight to the main gallery, and that's part of the gallery space. And in between spaces right here.
And the community gallery will have now garage doors or some type of folding doors that will completely open up and allow people to spill out all into the space, so that it really becomes an indoor and outdoor experience, right at a very important corner.
So can you point out where's Maria's office? Right there.
With a little private terrace, and the door to get to the terrace is 6'2", 6'1".
And I'm only 5'1", so
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, it's very bright, so it's hard to see. I think it may be shrinking it, but this is the in-between gallery between the fire station and the Fisher addition. You can see it's right over here, and it's a 2-story space that you can look down on, look up at a bridge that connects the 2 buildings. And, it's just a different type of exhibit space that you can see from different angles, and it has skylights. And it's also very, very important because it is a source of light for all of the offices and the administrative offices. There's only very few windows, as Ricardo was saying, and so how we get light is so important. We have skylights, and then we have that big light coming down in the middle.
And it's also a moment of time in between, the in-between galleries, sort of 2 different times, and sort of holding the periods and history.
And then this is the gallery on the 2nd floor that's over the education center. So that really occurs on this area here. And in the back, where we're doing a 2-story addition, we really felt that it should feel more like the Fisher moment, where we're looking at this is the Fisher building and how we want it to feel continuous, and not create a whole third identity with a third architect saying something different. It just has to be quiet and allow for the fire station to take center stage. Yeah, and this right at the bottom, this is the education center over here with its own separate entrance. And so there are two multi-purpose rooms, one that's very visible from the street so that it can be used for different events as well, and also has transparency and activation. And then inside you can see that there'll be like just areas for students with cubicles, and there'll be a mural, and just something that's fun and kind of interactive for the students. And then on the top floor are the offices. So we have one big open office space with a lot of skylights, since these are the only ways of getting natural light. And then the individual offices are all separated by glass panels, probably translucent, most of them. But again, because there's only a few windows, we want the light to penetrate as deep as possible into all of the offices so everyone can share that light.
Yeah, so these are just our general views, and I think this looks much better now. But yeah, that's basically the long view. What we call it from Gill to Gill. Obviously, what we're saying with that is that from one of the Gill buildings to the next one, and you just go through this back and forth. We're expecting that, as we said at the beginning, that it should be very open feeling, that you can get into the coffee, get into the museum, get into the courtyard, you can pop in, pop out, and go to the what it used to be the fire station, and becomes part of the family gallery. Kids could be coming out and in. There's cultural garden. We know it feels like it wants to be very permeable, so we, of course, it has to be some control, but you might buy a ticket for the entire day, I guess, in and out. What we see it is the idea to connect it and make it friendly and accessible.
And very inviting and porous, I think, is the idea.
So I think the next one, if you have any questions, there's this another elevations. It's the same idea from one side to another. Was real obviously the site is sloped towards the ocean, and maybe we can open for questions after we do. Is this the last one?
The movie.
Yeah. Okay. Where is it? We have a little movie. I hope it works. And it's sort of we do a little movie of all these models to sort of give it a sense of how do the spaces are going to be and how is this going to work, and just more of the feeling of the experience. We reduce the entry of the steps to make it a little much more private. Here, this work has been opened a little bit bigger to create much more connection. It's too white.
You can't, yeah.
Too fluorescent.
You can't make them smaller. Yeah. Is it possible
Can you
to change
redo
the
this one and
brightness?
reduce it? I don't know, we can't. And the courtyard, then we're gonna go through crossing from the in-between spaces, which you can see there, and to the this educational department. There's a certain privacy, obviously, and it's hard to see here, but there's two rooms there.
Yeah, it's so
It's
beautiful.
very, I don't know if they can change. Can wait and see if we can change
Yeah,
it.
that's
Otherwise, we have to find another one. We have to send you the movie if you give us your names. That's the best. Then we come out. Second floor, the gallery connected to the main gallery on the second floor. And you can see the classrooms, the sculptural garden in the corner. And we are going to then go up and see it from far away, I guess.
No, I think we're going to the.
Oh, we'll go back. Oh, yes. Yeah. So this is another entry or another way of connecting. With the doors of the fire station is open, completely rolling up, and then you have here the gallery, the family gallery. And
Pasadena.
to the store, of course. Then we go to the next
Now you have
gallery.
to leave through the store.
Yeah. And then we want everybody to invite into the store to please get a gift. And have some coffee before you go to. Don't forget the coffee. And that's what it will be.
I think we made it a little darker.
You did? No, this is because it's the afternoon, because the sun is getting. We're trying to make it darker.
Nighttime.
Yeah, it's the afternoon and trying to make it darker. But that's it. So that's the story of the edition, and this is what we hope it could be. We're in the process to finish and design development, and then we're going to go to construction documents, and hopefully by the end of this year we can start planning to move on to construction. But that's it. Any questions? Okay. I'm sorry for such a bad images, but that's what we have. Yes.
I have two. Number one, how wide is the in-between space?
It's like 7, like 8, 7, 7 feet.
What was
the question?
7 and a half.
What's the width? What's the width of in between the space? It's like a 7 foot 6 wide.
It
So
looks
something
like-
like this.
How much is it? No, what was it?
5 feet and 7.5 inches.
5 feet and 7.5 inches.
That's really narrow.
Yes, yes, yes. It's like a wide corridor.
Okay, and it looked like there was a living wall up on the top
It's
of
two
it.
stories.
It's just it was a flat sculpture.
Okay. And the other one is where you park.
Where do you park?
In the part that the civic center have.
Yeah.
Which is, and then there's public street parking,
Yeah, I've
but
always
the civic
parked
center has
on the
parking.
street and have never, ever had a, like, issue with parking at all,
Yeah,
ever.
there's a lot of street parking, and then there's a civic center parking that's a minute, not even 30 seconds from the museum.
So be ready to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
When will it be open?
But we're hoping, we're
October of 2027, we
to
hope
start
it
construction.
to start.
Right.
Finish
June.
it.
Spring of 27, we break ground, and then it's about, what, 14 months?
Yeah.
And then so summer of 28.
Okay. You're open now?
We are open now, and we will be open, we're not closing, and we're gonna work out the phasing.
The summer of
We have an opening celebration May 2nd, so come up now, see the museum, and then come back when we do the rededication.
Yeah.
So you can see the transformation.
Yes, Diane?
Yeah, can you talk more about the lighting and the roof and how you're getting light into that second story?
Sure, I mean, so the in-between gallery, allows light to come straight through, because we're just doing a very delicate light. But then from the administrative offices, we've created a very big opening that light then comes right into that space. And then besides that, we've created kind of clusters of seating areas in the administrative offices, and over each one is a skylight. And they're all new skylights, basically. There were some existing skylights, which we were talking about this week, these tiny little skylights that are in the kind of the cubicles of the police station. But they're
Jail.
Yeah, the
They were
jail,
in the-
yeah.
It's the
Yes,
jail, but
he
it's
was
much
very
more for
The
the
holding cells.
He was a humanist, he wanted to have light for the people in the jail cells. Yeah.
But they're falling apart and they're tiny and they don't really get light inside.
So are you having to rebuild the roof or are you?
So these are the things we're trying to make decisions on right now. It looks like it will be easier to redo portions of the roof and some of the main walls inside of the building, because moving them and creating beams and doing all that kind of stuff is becoming way more expensive than just demolishing the interior and rebuilding it. But there are some questions about which walls we should keep and which we shouldn't, and which are historical. There are a few elements inside the building that are historical. One is the fire pole, and the other one is this little stair, which definitely does not meet accessible requirements, but we have to keep it. And then these doors also we're keeping that were to the fire pole as well.
And up in the tower
The
for
tower,
drying the
sure.
fire.
Yes, that whole piece,
Hoses.
yeah. That whole tower piece that goes all the way down.
We're gonna put some nice lights on it at night.
Yeah, the tower, exactly.
For kids.
What are you showing us?
It's the, we're showing the location of the tower. So this is the original tower, and we kept it. And we imagine that it could have some light, and when there's a big event, light will be coming strongly from there, so it becomes a directional invitation. So
To highlight the nice,
It's a
you know, kind
highlight.
of a nice element of the original fire
you
station.
can actually put some color light in there. Make it much
Yeah, so
more-
it could be an installation space, but
Yes.
it's where when the fire hoses were fabric, so they would, after they went out, they would come back and the ladder's still in the tower, they would climb the ladder and hang the hoses to dry. So that's what that space is, and you can see it in the corner there on that.
And we can make a little alarm when the doors go open. There might be some fun things that could be when there's moments of festivities.
I mean, we're keeping that stair and we're not counting it towards our exiting, but it does connect to the administrative offices, so it still can be used. You just have to go up with this, like everything.
The lighting is very important because thing is you can see that this is already have a lot of artificial lighting to bring it back. But we're working very closely to be sure that we can have good lighting all around. Yes.
I like this part, the second floor with all glass there. It lets in lots of light, but I know that some wavelengths of light can be very harmful for paintings and pictures, so do you have some kind of blocking to protect the art?
Yes, the whole, that area, and then the whole, bottom half of the facade is all also glass, and those are huge glass panels that slide open, they're sliding doors essentially. So the museum, really, and that's why we were so interested in working with Taal and Ricardo, is that relationship to in and out, and really capitalizing on the Southern California lifestyle. So our programming literally spills out into the community. And that's a really important point and something that we've emphasized really since the founding of the museum is accessibility, being welcoming, being friendly. Not everybody feels like an art museum is a place for them, and we really feel committed that art is an experience for everyone. And so we want to make it transparent and available. So that upstairs, those windows are treated for UV, and then when we do the other gallery where there's light, we'll have those treated as well. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I really think that you made a wise choice with the addition by honoring the Fisher building and bringing those elements in there. In this image, it's showing it as gray. Is that intended to be just a backdrop?
Yeah,
color?
it's
Yeah,
gonna
it's
all be
gray.
white. It's just because of the shadows.
Yeah.
But it will not be looming over in darkness. It will be a white
Yeah, I think
facade.
looking at I guess the lower right-hand corner is the image. I think it's a
Exactly.
smart move to kind
Yeah.
of embrace the original Gill buildings with that. Smart move.
Yes.
How much of the fire station is historic and will be retained, and how much was just not possible to work with?
Yeah, we follow the Secretary of State, and there is a big documentation. And we are basically, everything that is visible.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to
Okay,
that
what are we just
diagram
displaying? There
because
is
Or go one
Go back.
more and,
one
yeah,
more.
there.
yeah,
Okay,
so
why don't you do it?
yeah, it's just that all of this was an addition, and all, I mean, basically, if I go to the next one, all these pieces that are highlighted have been additions to the original building. And so we're demolishing them all and then going back, so the facade will be back to the, kind of the original building. I mean, there was one piece, there was this entrance that we're not rebuilding, which is this piece right over
But that
here.
was also added.
Exactly,
Yeah.
at a different
It
time.
was also,
Yeah.
because it's
That
covered,
was
we
added
can't
in
see it.
41.
Yeah, you can see like how it was.
It's like a circle, it's like a.
And the arches.
But it's more challenging on the inside of what we do. But, normally in any case, usually when you have historical buildings, it's really about how you preserve the exterior and sometimes there are a few elements on interior, and all of those elements on the interior we're also preserving, the ones that we mentioned.
And you can see that there's a small little rooms, because there's 3 different buildings in a way, that are rented for different civic groups. So there are little offices, bathrooms,
And look at it, yeah, like look how
It
cut up
is.
it is.
and we have to open it up as much as we can.
Yeah, like,
What's the project cost and the funding for this?
what did I do?
Sure. So our total budget is 10 million. And, we started fundraising in, 24, midway through 24. And, we're at over 9.2 million. Yeah. And, it's been a really interesting journey. People were, you always have people who are like, yeah, we're gonna do it. And then other people are like, there's no way you're gonna do it. So we stuck with the, yeah, you're gonna do it crowd. And we were really fortunate where, we have such a broad range of support, which I think is how we were able to successfully get to 9 million in 18 months. So we were ahead of schedule, which is rare. And I think part of it was, 20% are individuals, 20% are foundations, 20% is the city of Oceanside partnering with us because they own the 2 Gill buildings. We own the Fred Fisher, but we're on city land. So essentially they own the whole project. However, we operate the whole thing. And then 40% was from the state of California. So our state senator, Catherine Blakespeare, was able to secure $3.59 million, which is really what tipped us over. So we are fundraising for that remaining $1 million gap. So I have my business card here for anybody who's interested, and I'm not joking actually. It's really an amazing project. And the fact that we're stewards of 2 Irving J. Gill buildings is really tremendous. And we did do a panel that Ricardo and Taal were on when we went public March 1st. And we had, I'm sure many of you know Keith Fox, who was the executive director of the La Jolla History Center. He had a beautiful statement where he talked about, you're stewards of 2 works of art. The buildings are works of art that then are showcasing works of art. So that was a shift in my thinking, and I think it was a beautiful statement. So.
Yeah, I think all you've done is respectful of what Gill did originally, and I think it all ties together very well on the outside. On the inside, what are you planning on doing to help celebrate or interpret his buildings on an inside exhibit itself? And really, Irving didn't get a break quite a bit of his life. He basically kind of got pushed out of Balboa Park when he was trying to be part of collaborative effort here. He went up to Los Angeles with his idea of doing tilt-up concrete arches is one of his great things he's doing. He landed right in the middle of the Depression and had to go work for an architect doing drafting. And then, when he passed away, the coroner listed him as a farm worker. And then on top of that, they lost his ashes and they never really got a funeral. So, there's a ghost floating around here that would like somehow to find some spot with the museum to really talk about it.
I think the tower and the stairs we've been talking about, that we can find some sort of memorize his life and his trajectory in a way. I mean, we have, so these are glass doors around the tower, and there is where you have the tower poles. So we thought that this could be encapsulating some sort of way of memorizing. We don't know exactly what it is because we haven't got to that point. We hardly can get to conceptualize and get things built, and we don't have a particular budget for that. But I think that something like that we can do. That area has to be kept, and I think it's nice that you have this movement from the grounds all the way up to the tower, and it will be a perfect place to
the views out of it. Do they help get an idea of his buildings as well?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see the place that you can see from outside.
Yeah, that can be a nice experience going up there. Then, you know, you were on the outside of the building, you came in the building, then you go up and you see the outside again.
I don't think we
Yeah, well,
can
are you
use,
asking about an
I don't think we
exhibit
can use the
Yeah,
stairs.
you're interpretive wise, we haven't landed on what it will be, however, we are very respectful. And we have a great relationship with the city and the fire department. And, the fire chief came to our opening celebration when we went public and dedicated the fire pole to Alma in our, you know, it's now in our care. And so there will be some way, we haven't landed on what that will be, but there will be and certainly to commemorate Irving J. Gill, certainly. And there's a beautiful moment too in the in-between gallery where you can look out and you see the outline of the former, because that's when you're up on the top and walking across. Yeah.
It's hard to see with all the overexposure, but. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the cubicle
Right here.
spaces. Yeah.
Right
That's
over
another
here,
one.
there's a line.
Of the original building. And so it actually, it's present all the time. So they're not like making the wall all just smooth. And that was something that we feel so, we are so appreciative of Taal and Ricardo is how respectful they've been to the legacy of not only Gill, but also Fred Fisher. And Fred Fisher pulled elements like the front-facing glass area that somebody was asking about with the verticals. That comes from the verticals in the hose drying tower, and that motif is carried through. And so we're carrying it through in the back on that the new construction on the back and making that, and just the restraint that takes as an architect not to be so ego-driven, to wanting to make yet again another third. As you were saying, Taal, another third
Yeah,
schema.
I know. We try to heal.
Yeah,
and I think that's
it's
where,
so
but
beautiful.
the point I'm trying to make, and you've done a good job on that, but the point I'm trying to make is someone's work, like an artist's work, is so focused on right there in terms of inside. Because of his philosophy, his buildings don't have a great deal of extravagance. It's simple geometry, but yet, 90% of the people visiting this will not understand what Gill did with these buildings if there's not something on the inside that talks about it.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, hear you very clearly.
And Santa Barbara, you see Santa Barbara has a very large collection of Irving Gill stuff and Louis Gill stuff. And, you can still do the Gill to Gill because the two of them work hand in hand for a long period of time. There's a lot of good work out of both of them.
Yeah, and we currently have an exhibition up right now about the legacy of Gill's architecture in Oceanside. And they touched on earlier that there's was a whole civic plaza plan, that those two buildings were just one of many. It was going to be a 2-block by 2-block area, and so there's a lot. We have all of the history of that on display right now.
How long is that exhibit up?
To the 26th of April, yeah, it opened, yeah.
Actually,
Yeah. Come up on a Sunday, it's nice and quiet, the drive is pretty.
Yes.
I had another programming question for the director. You guys have called like the front lower level in the firehouse, you're calling the community gallery, am I correct in that?
We haven't landed on the exact name, but that's what we're referring to it now, yeah, the community gallery.
So how do you spread the programming over these three buildings in terms of contemporary art, historic art?
So we mix in all the galleries currently, we mix our programming, our galleries change all the time because currently we don't have enough space to make enough of a visit if we had permanent collection up all the time. The second story new gallery that we were showing, that's in the fire station, second floor, that probably will focus a lot on our permanent collection. The community gallery, the reason we're calling it that is we have two core education programs. One is a literacy program for 3rd graders, and we serve every 3rd grader in Oceanside, so it's about 1,100 kids. And we do a literacy program, and then 5th graders, we have an integrated art and science program. And because because we have those youngsters coming into the building, and Alma has been renowned for being non-traditional in some of our exhibitions. We've had exhibitions on tattooing people's bodies and nude people being tattooed in the museum live. Like, so we, things like that, that's an extreme and an exaggeration. That doesn't happen all the time. But we want, but we want to be.
But you got our attention.
I actually did, didn't I? But we want to have a gallery that can be accessible by elementary, middle school kids all the time. And so that's, and then also that gallery, because of the big doors and everything, it's not necessarily a gallery where we can have, you know, fine art, because it's got the indoor, outdoor, and that exposure. So it will be more of a community focused gallery.
The picture up there shows minimal barrier from the sidewalk to the inside courtyard. Is it gonna stay that way?
Yeah, we've been discussing how much, you know, how much security, how much transparency we need in a courtyard like that. Right now, there is no plan to have large walls. It's really a garden. It's a real amenity for the community as it is right now.
Will it be open?
But it's not
Outside
dangerous, it's
out?
almost like, it's not like a big step.
Yeah, there's just a little stairs coming down
Two
here,
steps, 3 steps.
and
Will it
the
stay
stairs
open?
connecting it this
Very,
way.
very small.
Really similar to this big patio. This patio is open all the time to the public. It's a very similar situation. So, yeah. There's gonna be like kind of a built-in bench over here and trees, very soft, garden-like.
I wonder if my husband's getting at this, is there much of a homeless problem in Oceanside when you have people hanging out there?
So one of the, so the arcade that exists currently on the city hall, that far left corner. So we had a lot of people sleeping there, and there's a new security firm that the city is contracted with, and we have no problems at all now. And one of the things is when a space is dark and not as active, that's where you have, and so by activating the spaces, having a cafe there, having, you know, the education center there, there's gonna be constant activity and people, so eyes on things really is, elevates, you know, the activity, and then will reduce any, issues like that. We did have a firm, I won't say any names, that did share, one of their concepts for the new construction in the back, which it had an overhang and then a, like you'd walk into a public open space that was like the ground level, and I thought, oh, like a perfect hotel. It's like, there's no way we would ever do that, because it really was tone deaf to some of the issues. Whereas this is open, visible, everything is visible, which makes it a deterrent for people to